George Stevenson. Today on Wild Kansas, we're going to be talking about the conservation of carnivores like this bobcat here, who are permanent residents or in part are moving their way back into the state. We'll be talking with Matt Peak with the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. We'll also be going to the Topeka Zoo and speaking with Riley Guffey and the Milford Nature Center and speaking with Kevin Boss. We hope to give you a better understanding of which carnivores we have, which ones are potentially reclaiming their former range, and the importance of ensuring their survival in the future. Alright, let's go talk to Matt and see what he has to say about the Kansas Carnivore Plan.
Established these guidelines for responding to black bear, cougar, and gray wolf reports back in 2004. The reason we established these guidelines were really beginning in the early 90s. Mountain lions began showing up in various Midwestern states where they, in some cases, they'd been absent for over 100 years. Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, to name a few. And in anticipation that we would be seeing mountain lions in the, at least occasionally in the not too distant future, we decided that there was a need for deciding how the department would respond when they showed up under different situations. There's a lot of different types of predatory species out there, and some species can be hunted and other species are protected. The large carnivores, black bear, cougar, and gray wolf, are all protected.
Well, we learned a lot of really great information today about the Kansas Carnivore Plan from Matt. I can't wait to get to the Topeka Zoo to find out how their education and conservation programs help educate the public about our state's native animals. Well, we're here at the Topeka Zoo with Riley Guffey. She's going to tell us a little bit about the Kansas carnivores that are found here, and she's also going to tell us about the educational programs that the zoo offers.
Our two cougars here, we have two. One is a male and one is a female. Our male is Dakota, and he came from the South Dakota, North Dakota area. And our female is Cassie, and she came from the Cascade Mountain area. We have two river otters. They are brothers, and they were actually born in captivity at the Sedgwick County Zoo, and they were brought here as soon as they were weaned from their mom. Sneak and Pika are two older bears, and they are both females, and they arrived here in 1996. Katie and JD were actually orphans in the wild, and we had space for two more bears, so we offered to take them in, and they get along just fine with sneak and peek.
You were the first zoo to successfully hatch a golden eagle chick in captivity. Tell us how important that was to the species.
It's actually really important to the species. We've actually hatched over 60 eagle chicks now, and we've actually been asked to stop our breeding because they're sustaining themselves in the wild. One of our biggest responsibilities is the education to our public about these animals in the wild, and hopefully encouraging them to make room for these animals so we can live in peace instead of driving them out of their habitats.
Well, thank you, Riley, for having us here today. I think I've learned a lot about the Topeka Zoo, and I'm sure people watching will want to come.
We're happy to have you, and you're always welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's head to the Milford Nature Center and speak to Kevin about our native Kansas carnivores and how important they are to the ecosystem in which they live. How important would it be to the ecosystems of Kansas to have our big carnivores back on a permanent basis?
I think the ecosystems would benefit a lot having the main carnivores back here in Kansas, because we'd have a more diversity in the amount of prey species and other predator species that live here in Kansas that have been here for forever. You'd see a lot more animals, I think, because the populations would be at a more stable condition, with more predators, with with wolves or with the grizzly bear. The only problem is that we might be too far along to go back that way, because of most of those animals need very big ranges, particular ranges. Like, for instance, the grizzly bear needs vast open areas of habitat, woodland habitat, and places like that, where they find food and scavenge and things like that, which we don't have that much in Kansas anymore. So.
How does the poisoning of prairie dogs affect raptors and other carnivores that prey on them?
It's very detrimental to all populations of carnivores and birds of prey that live around prairie dog towns. The main poison that they're using is what we call rosol, and it is a terrible poison. What they do is they put the actual poison in the prairie dog towns. The prairie dogs eat it, and when it becomes more concentrated, then it actually kills the prairie dog. I mean, they have to eat enough of it to become concentrated to a high enough potency to actually kill the prairie dog. So between that time when they actually consume the first bit of poison, it can actually be transferred to other predators or other animals. So we're seeing problems with golden eagles that prey on prairie dogs dying of poison. We are seeing things, black-footed ferret, probably one of the most endangered species here in North America, just preys completely on prairie dogs. And I don't know if we've seen a decline in that perspective, because there's only a certain number of range of those black-footed ferrets here in Kansas. But we see decline in populations of all animals around prairie dog towns, so it's very detrimental.
What can be done to balance the relationship between farmers and prairie dogs to prevent harm for raptors and other carnivores?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, because of the delicate situation it is already. But I think that a lot of the problem is that farmers don't know enough about prairie dogs. I think they know that they're pests, or they think that they're pests, because they dig holes in their prairie or in their their grassland where they have cattle or something like that, and that their cattle step in their holes and all that kind of stuff, break their legs, which is not true at all. In Logan County, where we actually have a prairie dog town with black-footed ferrets on it, where we're actually doing studies and stuff. The landowner actually has lots and lots of cows on that property, and he hasn't had a single incident between prairie dogs and cattle. So there's nothing, you know, there's nothing about that that's going to cause harm to your cattle with having prairie dogs there. The relationship would be improved by farmers learning more about prairie dogs and stopping the use of poison, the use of rosol and other poisons and things like that, because of the harm it does to other species.
There are many great animals that call Kansas home. Others are trying to find their way back in. I know many people, including myself, that would love to see all of our native animals back on a permanent basis. What we as humans have to realize is that we don't own this earth. Every species on this planet has its place, and that place is important. Without a rich level of biodiversity, we miss out on what makes this earth special and full of wonder and amazement. There's only one species of animal on this planet that we need to truly be worried about, and you can find them by looking in the mirror. I'm George Stevenson, and thank you for watching Wild Kansas.